Kishan Kumar. Then who else is there? Supriya Rani. 2 students. Where are others? Isa. Then Jigyasa. 6 students are there. How many students are present in morning class? In Zoom class, or how many students were there present? Reply. All of you reply. Jigyasa, how many students are present in morning Zoom class? 17. And see here all are sleeping. 18. Sanjay. Anyhow, say contact force. That was over. Muscular force. Text here. A force that requires the action of muscles of our body is called muscular force. So the activities such as pushing, pulling, throwing, kicking, lifting, running, jumping or bending or body are examples of muscular force. See, the force that require the activities of muscles. Force that require the activities of muscles of our body is called muscular. So the activities such as pushing, pulling, you have to push, you have to pull, kicking, lifting, running, jumping, bending or body example of muscular force. While applying a muscular force on an object, our body has indirect contact. Say while applying force, pushing or pulling, our body has to be in direct contact with it. Thus, muscular force. When your body is in contact with something, when your body is in contact with something, that is example of contact force. Animals also use muscular force to move around. Animals are using, say, can you move without muscular force? Reply all of you. Can you move without the help of muscular force? Can you move without the help of muscular force? And muscular force is example of which force? Contact force or non-contact force? Muscular force is example of which force? Contact force or non-contact force? Then frictional force. Say you must have it also you find it difficult to push a heavy box across the floor. In this case, you are not applying an external force to slow it down or stop it. Appears that there must be a force which is acting between the surfaces which are in contact. Say here, when you roll down a ball, what happens to the ball after some time? When you roll a ball on the floor, what happens to the ball after some time? Reply, when you roll a ball on the ground, what happens to the ball after some time? The ball slowly stops. When you roll a ball on the ground, the ball slowly stops after some time. Why does the ball stops? Why does the ball stops? Why does the ball stop? The ball stops. Pay attention. The ball stops because there is opposing force. There is opposing force acting on the ball. There is a opposing force acting on the ball in opposing direction. That force is friction. That force is friction. When two surfaces are in direct contact, pay attention. When two surfaces are in direct contact and one surface moves over the other, then other surface stops its movement. When two surfaces are in direct contact and one surface moves over the other, then the other surface tries to stop its motion. This opposing force is friction force. Now this force slows down moving objects and prevents it. This force slows down the moving object and prevents object at rest from moving. This friction. See here, whenever you pedal and sometimes your brakes are not working, you apply your legs on the ground, produce friction to stop the bicycle. This force slows down moving objects and prevents the object at rest from moving. The direction of this force is opposite to the direction of motion. See here, such a force that opposes the motion, from here is the definition. Such a force that opposes motion between two surfaces in contact move or tend to move with respect to each other. Say when two surfaces, write down in copy everybody the definition of friction force. Write down in copy. When two surfaces are in direct contact, when two surfaces are in direct contact and they move or tend to move and they move or tend to move with respect to each other. They move or tend to move with respect to each other. Then one surface opposes the motion over other. Then one surface opposes the motion over other. This force is called friction force. This force is called friction force or frictional force. This force is called friction force or frictional force. Definition, have you all written definition? Reply all of you. Have you all written definition? Now, it is friction between the surfaces of the ball and the floor that causes a moving ball to stop. Friction between surfaces of the bicycle tires and the ground. Friction between tire and the ground in bicycle helps it to stop. Friction between surfaces of bicycle tires and ground is responsible for stopping the bicycle when you stop pedaling it. Similarly, the friction between the surfaces of the box and floor, when heavy box is there and you try to move, box will not move due to friction between box and the ground. As friction requires a physical contact between two surfaces, it is an example of contact force. Friction is an example of which force? Or I will reply, friction is an example of which force? Friction is an example of which force? Contact force. Then mechanical force. You must have seen a car moving on the ground. You must have seen a car moving on the ground. How does it move on its own? How does it move on its own without being pushed or pulled? You must have seen a car moving on the road. How does it move on its own without being seen? How does the car move on its own with the help of machines? It is the force applied by the engine of the car. It is the force applied by the engine of the car that enables it to move on its own. Because there is mechanical force. The engine of the car exerts mechanical force so that the car starts moving. The force applied by the engine of the car that enables it to move on its own. The force generated by a machine is called mechanical force. Force generated by a machine is called mechanical force. Machines do not produce force of their own. Machines do not produce force on their own. We must apply. And does car will move without any source of energy? Tell me. Will the car move without any source of energy? Or car requires some source of energy? Reply. Then how does the car move? What is the how does the car move on its own? Reply. How does the car move on its own? Car gets a source of energy that is petrol or diesel. Car gets a source of energy that is petrol or diesel. When this petrol or diesel burns, when petrol or diesel burns, it provides energy to the machines, and machines exert a force on your car to move. See here, the force generated by a machine is called mechanical force. Machines do not produce force on their own. We must apply some kind of energy to these machines to produce force. Chemical energy of petrol. Which energy is stored in petrol? Reply all of you. Which energy is stored in petrol? Chemical energy. Chemical energy of the petrol is used to produce a force which is used to run the motor of the car engine. Similarly, the blades of the windmill use energy. See the windmill blades, they also move with the help of wind energy. So this is an example of mechanical force. Is mechanical force clear to all? Reply. Is mechanical force clear to all? Now say non-contact force. A leaf falling from a tree towards the earth or an iron nail moving towards a magnet does not require any physical contact between two bodies. Such forces that arise due to interaction between two objects. Forces that arise, see, forces that arise due to interaction between two objects that are not in physical contact. Look at this marker. Marker is in non contact with the hand, it is still falling down. By which force the marker is falling down? Tell me. By which force the marker is falling down? By which force the marker is falling down? All of you reply gravitational force. That force is gravitational force and it is an example of non-contact force. By which force iron nails get attracted towards magnet? By which force iron nail gets attracted towards magnet? By which force iron nail gets attracted towards magnet? Magnetic force. Then force that arise due to interaction between objects that are not in physical contact are called non-contact. It is also known as action at a distance force. Non-contact force act from a distance. Non-contact force are acting from a distance. Example are gravitational force, magnetic force, and electrostatic force. What is electrostatic force? You can tell. What is electrostatic force? All of you write down electrostatic force. The force exerted by charged particles. Force exerted by charged particles on charged on uncharged body. The force that a charged particle exerts on charged or uncharged body is called electrostatic force. It's called electrostatic force. Then can you give an example where you have seen electrostatic force? Reply. Have you seen electrostatic force somewhere? Have you where you have seen? See, you rub a comb, pay attention. You rub a comb on your dry hair. The comb is an insulator. When you rub a comb on your dry hair, your comb will become charged. Comb will become charged, and this comb will attract bits of paper, small bits of paper. This is an example of electrostatic force. Now see gravitational force. In the universe, every object is pulling every other object towards itself. See, in the universe, if object has a mass, if any object which has mass, that will attract any other object. Simple, the force of attraction between two objects that has mass. Force of attraction between two objects that have mass is called gravitational force. Any two objects which have mass will attract each other That force is called gravitational force. The force attraction is called gravitational force. This does not need any kind of physical contact. Say here one marker falling down, one brick falling down, there is no direct contact, still it is being attracted. Well, we read page number 153 now. Why we are attracted towards? Because we also have mass. We are attracted towards Earth because we also have mass. And Earth has enough mass or huge mass as compared to our body. So the object which has more mass attracts the objects which has less mass. For example, we are attracted towards center of Earth and Earth is attracted towards center of Sun. Therefore, the Earth revolves around the Sun. So heavier body will attract a lighter body toward itself. That force of attraction is gravitational force. Is it clear there? When we now answer that, tell me, is it clear? Why we are attracted towards center of Earth? Then have you read this page 153, all of you? Have you read this page number 153? Reading over. Now see, it is the gravitational force of the sun that keeps all the planets moving around it in fixed orbit. Keep in mind, the sun has gravitational force. That force is attracting all the planets and causing them to move around it. Similarly, Earth also exerts a force of attraction on bodies. Earth is also exerting a force of attraction on bodies and tries to pull it towards its center. Gravitational force of the earth makes the leaves of the trees. See, leaves of the trees fall down. because of gravitational force of the earth. Then tomorrow you will learn up to here and come. Good day everybody. Tomorrow learn up to here and come.